Hello and welcome to another version of MasterMind Minutes. My name's Gary Occhigrosso. I'm the managing partner for Franchise Growth Solutions. By now, you all know this big sign here in back of me. If you want to learn about Franchise Growth Solutions, you could either click on the link above or below the webcast or on the podcast text, depending on the platform that you happen to be listening. And MasterMind Minutes, for those of you who have joined us today for the very first time, real simple concept. We have one guest. We ask one question, we get one expert answer, and we are very well aware that that might be a tease. So at the end of the episode, we will give you all the contact information for our guest. You can contact the guest directly, ask more questions, see if their organization or their service is a good fit for you. So today, my guest is Paul Rocchio, who is the Vice President of Development and Member Services at the International Franchise Association. For those of us involved in franchising, we lovingly
there it is.
As the IFA. and Paul joined the IFA, and this was news to me when he sent me his bio. He joined the IFA way back in 1999, before there were actually smartphones. And he's responsible for the retention of members and recruiting new members. A lot of my clients deal with him, the startups. And he's also, and he always does this, we'll talk about this today, he's always creating value-added benefits for existing members. And that's a really important piece. He formerly worked with the International Mass Retail Association, where he was the manager of state government affairs. Sounds very official. We'll have to talk about that a little bit. And he's a member of the American Society of Association Executives. He's received a certificate in nonprofit organization management, and he is a certified franchise executive, and he's become a friend of mine over the years in franchising. And Paul, how are you today? And before we get to the question, tell us a little bit about how you are, what you've been doing in the last couple of months while we've all been locked down.
Thanks, Gary, and thanks again for the opportunity today. I really appreciate this, my friend. I think like everybody, since March, and I was at a conference. I was at the Young Conference in Salt Lake, and this all started to hit, and everybody started kind of peeling off and heading home a little earlier than they wanted to, and then the whole world fell apart. Yep. And here we are today. Never thought I would be telecommuting for months on end. Was never a big fan of it. Had to quickly get used to it. I'm going to try not to say pivot more than once, so hopefully I won't say pivot anymore on this.
Don't say pivot.
But let's just say I've become very accustomed to working from home. Knock on wood. I can't believe how productive I feel like I've been. Though I think my family is ready to kick me out of the house or vote me off the island. But all is good. All is good. And obviously, with the whole IFA team, we communicate daily, hourly, some of us nonstop, and it's been kind of an ongoing pleasure during this challenging time. As we say in franchising, it's the franchise family, and we will continue to get through this together. And we have each other to help each other get through this challenging time. And I see that, as I'm sure you see that with your clients and other peers in franchising. We are all getting through this challenging time together. And that's why I love franchising. That's why I love, IFA and the members we have.
Yeah, me too. And I agree. Franchising is, and I don't know, the only other business I was in, or the only other industry I was in before I got into franchising, because, I started as a franchisee of Dunkin' Donuts, but the only other industry I was in the broadcasting industry for several years in New York. And the franchising industry, it's interesting because people share information, even though they're competitors.
Exactly.
And that's unique. So, all right, so let's get to the question. And by the way, I agree. There's two pieces, two words or phrases in my vocabulary. Well, they're not in my vocabulary, and I actually put my New York attitude on and kind of stop people when they use words like pivot. Okay.
Yes.
And the other thing is new normal. So first of all, it's a temporary normal because if you think about it, every day is new. So every day is a new
It's a
normal.
new normal, exactly,
And
man.
if you're gonna fold like a cheap camera, and that's actually before cameras were phones when they had a thing
Right, right.
okay? For you younger people, if you're going to fold like a cheap camera and say, well, I'm going to accept the world the way it is, then you know what? I'm not on board with that, okay? It's always changing,
Amen.
and it's always new, and everything that's new is temporary. So
Yes.
let's just get to the question. So kind of with COVID as the background, but it doesn't necessarily have to be focused on COVID, although we'll touch on that. The IFA, in my opinion, it is an integral part of the franchising. It is the most important organization in the franchise industry, as far as I'm concerned. And everyone that is a franchisor, whether they've got 10,000 units, 10 or none, they should be a member of IFA because the intelligence is there, the support is there, the resources are there, the camaraderie is there, the networking, there's 100 things that are there. So to me, it's always important, but in this time, it's even more important. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what the IFA has been doing, and maybe give us some examples of, have they, I'll use the term, stepped up or added some pieces to their normal practice to kind of help the franchise community during the pandemic.
Exactly. And Gary, excellent question. And of course, I'm biased. I think if you're involved in franchising as a franchisor, franchisee, or a supplier, of course, you really need to be involved in IFA and give back to IFA and be a member of IFA. But I will say that, all of us, and this goes for any trade association, we are, trade association executives. So when something like the pandemic happened, we were able to obviously quickly, reorganize things at IFA. Of course, we promote, protect, and enhance franchising globally. So on the protection side, it's the government relations, it's the lobbying we do. Led by our CEO Robert Crescente, and then our head of government relations Matt Haller and his team. That is the key resource that we provide, especially in times of trouble like the pandemic. So they quickly put together a public policy program, if you will, and obviously knowing where all the pain points are and were for the franchising community, they jumped in headfirst and made sure that franchising was properly represented in the CARES Act. And really, when it came to PPP funding, EILD, and then anything and ongoing as well. I mean, honestly, and actually today we have our virtual Franchise Action Network meeting, which is our lobby day. Members of Congress have been having town hall meetings virtually, with their constituents. So being able to put on a virtual lobby day, is something that is very important to make sure that our members' voices are heard by by the leaders on Capitol Hill, and really also by their staff, because at the end of the day, it's the 22-year-old kids who are really running the country, and that's kind of the ongoing joke we've always had. But but staffers are very important. So we have that happening today and tomorrow, and it's very important for our members to make sure their voices are heard by the leaders up on Capitol Hill.
Yep, I agree, and I'm going to put you on the spot. If you may not have the stats, but you might know some of them. Just to kind of underscore. You say, well, why does the franchising industry need to lobby, and all these other things that go on, and you'd be surprised, but when you talk about how the economy is kind of has crashed, really, although we seem to be pulling out of it, but I guess the unemployment piece is still a big piece. And, most of my clients are in the restaurant.
Exactly.
So some of my guys in the restaurant business, especially the ones that operate in urban centers like New York and Philly and DC, they're
Yep.
getting crushed. Not only because people couldn't go into the restaurant, but just because there aren't people in those urban centers, everyone's telecommuting. Anyway, I guess my point is, franchising as an industry, for the lack of a better
Sure.
term.
Of course.
Do you know how many folks the franchising industry employs as all of these small businesses? It's got to be in the millions.
Well, I mean, listen, before the pandemic, yes, franchising, employed, and I apologize, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's like, I want to say it's like 1.4 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
But honestly, maybe if we could just take a little break, if you want, I could pull that number up if you want me to.
No.
To give you an exact number.
No, you know what? That's why I said I was going to put you on the spot, and if anybody's curious, they can contact you for it. No, I guess the point I was making, because I don't want to get into like stats, and the point I was making is that.
But yes, I mean, listen, franchising, the business format franchise model, yes, it is it's a strong economic driving force in the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
And yes, we do employ millions, millions of people across the 300 different lines of business that happen to use the business format franchise model.
Yeah,
so,
that was really my point, Paul. I guess my point was that sometimes people who are not in franchising, when they think of the franchise businesses, they think of the parent company. Let's use McDonald's as an example.
Of course.
They think of McDonald's or they think of Subway. But what people don't realize is that the individual storefronts, or the guy that shows up from, say, Serta Pro Painter or Lawn Doctor, or when you go to when you go to a Sonic or whatever, or even a lot of gas stations, that those are independent, small, independent business owners.
Yep.
Who, when they say, well, if you're the big company, you shouldn't be getting PPP. Well, look, at the end of the day, the person that owns that single unit, or maybe they got 2 units, they're not some big giant public corporation. The franchising industry is made up of entrepreneurially spirited individuals who essentially purchase a system. And then they go and they kind of deploy that system in the form of whatever it is, if it's a Subway franchise or whatever.
Exactly.
And that's where the IFA, I believe, really kind of is helpful, because those folks individually, they don't really have a lot of voice because they're small potatoes, so to speak. So the IFA definitely, in addition to giving them education and learning and networking, gives them a voice in DC. And I think that's what your point was earlier with respect to lobbying.
Oh, most definitely. And then, the other thing that we did was we quickly put together our chief revenue officer, Jennifer Brandine, and I assisted her with this. We put together a series of webinars that we quickly put into place and continued. We were, like I was mentioning to you earlier, we were doing it sometimes, 2 to 3 a day, because people were just starved for information. And obviously we were utilizing our membership to help address our members, because it's all about networking. People in the franchising community, as you've always said, yes, there are competitors, and then there are, non-competitors, and regardless, franchising is franchising. Everybody's dealing with the same issues, as a franchisor, or even as a franchisee, depending. But that's what our members were really starved for. Everybody was starved for education. And I'll tell you, the one thing I noticed, and historically we always do monthly webinars, and the numbers. Participation rate numbers shot through the roof. And I had to remind some of my colleagues that, listen, I mean, it's because everybody's home, everybody's home, but yes, they are starved for information. And we noticed that, and even other, some of our other members who were putting on webinars, they noticed that, attendance, was higher than normal. And of course, at the end of the day, it's because people were working from home, again, people are just starved for as much information as they could have to try to get through this challenging time. And again, that's what we were, that's why a trade association exists. It exists to help the specific industry. And again, as you stated, for lack of a better term, because franchising is really a means of distribution, and it's 300 different industries, if you will, 300 different lines of business. But it's an industry, and that's what we are here to do. We are here to, again, promote, protect, and enhance franchising. So we're promoting it on the public policy front, or protecting it rather on the public policy front. We are, continually promoting our members, and then we are educating our members, enhancing our members, and that's what we're doing. And of course, you started to touch upon this as well. Franchising always does well when there's a downturn in the economy. Now, this is obviously a very unfortunate downturn, but there are millions of people out of work, and a lot of these folks are not going to find jobs, or the jobs that they left are not going to be available again. And so from a franchise development standpoint, there's always a silver lining, and there's a lot of people out there who are going to look to franchising because they've always wanted to own their own business, and maybe they don't want to go back to corporate America or whatever job it is they had. So there's going to be a ton of opportunities out there, and I'm sure you're seeing it from your standpoint too, Gary.
Yeah, absolutely. I would tell you that, and I'm with you. I mean, I don't want to sound insensitive, but
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess the silver lining is that maybe there are a lot of folks who are on the fence about taking control of their own lives, taking control of their own financial destiny, or creating legacy by starting their own business, but maybe they never did it because their job was just too good or too cushy or whatever. And now all of a sudden we find ourselves, and many people, kind of plunged into this, oh, what am I going to do scenario. And it's pushed people into really taking control and having confidence in themselves to go out and start a business. And to me, why am I involved in franchising for the last 35 years? Because I think it's the smartest development tool ever created in the history of the world in terms of business, and how individuals can go into business that might have limited or no experience at all. Because again, the way we were talking about how franchisors share information amongst themselves, well, the whole essence of franchising is sharing information, franchisor to franchisee. So it's kind of baked in to the process. What I would tell you is, look, I could talk about this for hours, but that would be breaking the rules here. This is not about
Likewise, right? Right.
So what I would say is and we've got a lot of varied, because we get a lot of emails and we get a lot of comments on our YouTube and LinkedIn. We have a varied group of people that watch this. Some people are franchisors, some folks are franchisees, and let's not forget the IFA also deals with franchisee issues. So let's not leave that out. And I would say anyone who is either thinking about getting involved in franchising on any level, you should probably get to the IFA website. If you want to reach Paul, why don't you tell us the best way to reach you in addition to going to the IFA website? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you, Gary. And the IFA website is franchise.org. That's franchise.org. And best way to reach me is on my direct dial, which is 202-662-0790, and that rolls right over to my cell phone. Great. And then also email procchio@franchise.org. And let me spell that because it's not Smith, like it's not Occhio Grosso, but PROCCHIO@franchise.org.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that part of that email address, your name is like the first few letters of my name. But
I know.
listen, don't worry if you didn't write it down. It'll be on the post. So you'll and we
Excellent.
actually do it as a link. So any last word, Paul, before I let you go?
Well, listen, Gary. Again, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, my friend. You've always been there for me, and you're always there for your clients, and you're just one of those folks that are, you're always giving back to franchising, and I can't thank you enough for that. And you've always been there for me, and thank you for that. Again, as I've been,
Thank you for saying that.
oh no, you're
I appreciate
my pleasure, buddy. And as I've with all of these webinars that we've been doing, all the webinars that we've been doing during the pandemic, as I always like to close, and I'm going to use the same closing that I do on the webinars here today with you, Gary, is, listen, the franchising community will get through this together. IFA is here to help you all. And again, nobody should be doing this alone. We're all here to help one another. So the franchise family is here to help one another. IFA is here to help one another. And of course, Gary, I know you're always there for your clients. And again, anybody could reach out to me with any question they have. Happy to assist them in any way, shape, or form. Even if you're not a member of IFA, I'm always there to give out, free advice. And again, Gary, can't thank you enough for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend, and even see you virtually, buddy.
Yes, I hope to see you live and in person.
Live, I know.
Paul.
Exactly.
Take care, man. Thank you so much.
All right, brother.
Everyone,
Thank you, my
be well. Bye-bye.
Stay well, buddy. See you. Bye.